All right, those who are tuning in to watch this class and who tried to tune in at 3:00 for the class, I apologize, because at 3:00 I was not here. I had to do something special that I couldn't put off. So there we go. But here we are. Here we are now. So let's do a class now. Like they say in Yiddish, nish kein verfallen. Nothing is ever lost. This morning also I did not remember to make a separation between the two classes. So the two classes ran together and etc. Anyway, this is what they call in Yiddish, gesunte Douglas. Healthy problems. Problems, but healthy problems. All right, what do we learn? The Jewish people got out of Egypt, and Yitro comes to Moses, and he says, Moses, I want to be a Jew. Be a Jew like everybody else. And because of that, it says the Torah was given to the Jewish people. And here we go. B'chodesh HaShlishi, on the third month, after the Jews left Egypt, Meretz Mitzrayim, Bayom Hazeh, on this day they came to the Midbar Sinai. What does it mean of the third month? They left Egypt. What's called the first month of the year, first month of the Jewish year. The Jewish people left Egypt in the middle of the first month, which is Nisan. The whole second month, they were traveling through the desert. In the beginning of the third month, Bayom Hazeh, the beginning of the third month, that's when they came into the desert of Sinai. Bayom Hazeh, says Rashi, Rosh Chodesh, it was the first day of the month of Sivan. It didn't really have to say, except Hayom Hazeh. Why does it say Hayom Hahu? On that day. What does it mean on this day? What do you mean on this day? On that day, on the day that happened. What do you mean this day? To tell you that the Torah was given on this day. The words of Torah should be new by you as though they were given today. The Jewish people traveled from Rephidim. They came to Midbar Sinai. They camped in the desert, and the Jewish people camped there opposite the mountain. Okay, this is in improper order. This should be first. First of all, it should say that the Jewish people went from Rephidim. They came to the desert of Sinai. They camped in the desert opposite the mountain. Mount Sinai was there. And then afterwards, it should say, on the third month after the Jewish people left, that's when they came into the desert of Sinai, right? They left Rephidim earlier. What happened, by the way, in Rephidim? Rephidim was a place where the Jewish people didn't have any water, and Moses struck the rock and gave them water. That's where they got water. They were complaining because they didn't have any water. I mean, you can't really blame them. They went for a couple of days without water, but nevertheless, they should have trusted God. So Rashi says, why does it tell you that they went from Rephidim? That should have been before. Why does it come back and tell us again where they came from? We knew it. Halo Kavar Kasiv, it's already written. It should be Rephidim or Yuchonim, that they camped in Rephidim. That was the name of the place. It's known that they must have traveled from there. But it's telling you to connect. They're traveling from Rephidim, just the way they left this place of Rephidim to come into Sinai, just like over there. They came into Sinai just like they came into Sinai doing tshuva, also when they left Rephidim, they regretted what they did, namely complaining to God about the water. It says, Vayichan Shem Yisrael, that Israel, he camped. This is seemingly a mistake in grammar. God made a mistake. Look at this. It says, Vayichan, that he camped Yisrael. It should say Vayachanu Yisrael, that the Jewish people, they camped. Says Rashi, as usual, if we think that it's a mistake in the Torah, then we're the ones that are mistaken. God did exactly what he was supposed to do here. It says he's coming to tell us a message. Vayichan Shem Yisrael ke'ish echad b'leiv echad, like one person with one heart. Avashar kol hachaniyos, with all of the other camps, but tarumos uv'machlokos. The Jewish people were complaining and arguing one with the other, or against Moses, or what. Interestingly, it says that the Jewish people camped there like one person with one heart. What does that mean? What do you mean? Like one person. They camped there. What does it mean? One person, one heart. But there's people that have two hearts. So I think, this is what I think. Like one person with one heart, that in fact nobody has one heart. Everybody, heart means desires. Everybody has all sorts of desires and people's values and their principles that change all the time. Right? A person is put to a little bit of a test, all of a sudden he changes his mind, his heart changes. There's only one person that has one heart, and that's Moses. And all the Jewish people were like that one person. Ke'ish echad, they were like that one person that has only one heart. All the Jewish people were just like, when they got to Mount Sinai, they had only one thing in their mind. They wanted to receive the Torah in order to do what God wants. Hachaim asked this question that I asked. I got a question, says the Hachaim. Lama Ykar amuktam. Why did they put this sentence over here, which should have been first? It should have said that they went from Rephidim and they came to Midbar Sinai, and then tell us when it was they came. On the third month, that's when they came into Sinai. What does it have this thing about Sinai first, and then it tells you where they came from? Why? So it says, in pasuk koda and pasuk shulafanav. It should have been, first of all, this sentence should be before the sentence which preceded it. Sha'omar bo midbar Sinai. Ulai, maybe shahu al derech omer, like it says in Sanhedrin, ahava makalkelis is ashura. Is that love makes people crazy. It made God put the second thing first. This is the day that God was waiting for since he created the world. La Torah. For the Torah. To give the Torah. La Olam, La Elyonim, La Tachtonim. This day was, everyone was waiting. The Creator, the Torah was waiting. The world was, the upper worlds, the lower worlds, from the day the world was created. And they're just, everyone is just waiting for this day. When will they come? Therefore, as God did not want to delay it at all, he wrote that sentence first. Therefore, as soon as they got there, God did not tell them where they came from and etc. That's why it said, on this day, this tremendous desire. It says, Higia chashuk v'nechshak lechoshek v'chashuk. The desired one, the desirer, and the desired one came to the desired goal. V'chashuk v'simchas shamayim, and there was desire and the joy of heaven and the earth. This is the whole purpose of the creation and the whole hope of creation. And after that, it comes back to tell the details. Right? So first of all, it says, on the third month, the Jewish people came into the mountain of the desert of Sinai. This is that everybody's waiting for. And then afterwards, it talked about the details. They came from Refidim, where they came from. Or Hachaim is a little bit differently. Ykar, I'm sorry. And he says, I'm sorry, I skipped this. I shouldn't have skipped it here. The whole Hachaim. Also, another important thing says the Hachaim. Hachaim was Rabbi Chaim ben Atar. He lived in the same time as the Baal Shem Tov, about 300 years ago. He was the Mashiach of his generation. Rabbi Chaim ben Atar, he was the Mashiach of his generation. Vayavo midbar Sinai, they came to the desert of Sinai. Halokavar had already told us, the Torah already told us that they came to the desert of Sinai. Also, we have to know, why does it say that they camped in the desert? Of course they camped there. What were they supposed to do? And it says the intention is to tell you three important things that the Jewish people have to have in order to receive the Torah. One of them is that they came from Refidim. The other one is that they camped. And the other one is that they camped in the desert. And the other one is that all the Jewish people camped. Let's explain it. The first one is that a person, when he learns the Torah, he can't be lazy. Laziness is the weed that destroys any Torah learning. Therefore, we have to remember that when a person learns the Torah, as a person has to be willing to die over the Torah. In other words, to kill himself. In learning, staying up a little bit later, skipping a meal. Like the rabbis say, the learning the Torah, you have to work at the Torah with a lot of effort. Okay, this is what he explained. Therefore, it said, "Vayis'u mi refidim." Refidim means loose-handed. The Yisurim Refidim, that they traveled from Refidim, it only comes to tell us that not where they came from, Refidim, we already knew that. But it's coming to tell Refidim means to be, not to be, to hold on tight. That they traveled from a place that they were very, lackadaisical. Refidim means lackadaisical, let things go. On the pasuk we said, "Vayelachem im Yisrael bi Refidim." It says that's why Amalek. Remember, immediately after Moses struck the rock, Amalek came along, and he struck. And all this happened in this place called Refidim. It says because the Jewish people, they were lackadaisical about learning Torah, that they weren't holding onto the Torah tight. That therefore Amalek struck. That's what it means, vanisu, that they traveled away from this thing of Refidim. They traveled away from being, unexcited about the Torah. Refidim means to be loose, to be casual. Second thing is, it's very important to have humility and humbleness, because the Torah does not exist except a person that's very humble and makes himself like a desert. That's why it says Vayachanu Lamidbar. What does it mean? Humility. A person, they went into the desert. You have to be like a desert. So number one, you have to leave being, casual with the Torah. And you have to camp, yes, in the desert. You have to be humble. Number three, this is the Bechinas Yud Chachamim Bischabrus Belev Shalem. You have to join together with other people that learn Torah. And that's why it says Vayichan Shem Yisrael, that the Jewish people gathered together, unity, that the Jewish people were unified in the Torah. That's why it says these three things, and that's why it's so important to us. And the Hachaim, the Ykar, says something like the same thing, but he says it in a little bit different way. He says that when there is contention and argument and jealousy and hatred between the rabbis, then the Jewish people can't, they suffer because of that. Right. So, and therefore, there's two opposite things. On one hand, it says that Mount Sinai is called Sinai because there came Sina, hatred to the world. On the other hand, it says that the Torah is there to give peace. So the Kli Ykar, that's Rabbi Shlomo Milunshitz, and we spoke about, he lived in at the same time as the Maharalmi Prague. That's like 100 years earlier. That he says that that if the rabbis have peace between them, then Torah brings peace to the world. But if not, then it brings hatred to the world. Okay, next sentence. Moses went up to God, and God called him from the mountain and said, this is what you should say to Beis Yaakov, to the house of Jacob, and tell to the sons of Israel. Usually Beit Yaakov means the women. Moshe went up on the second day. So the first day they camped. They came to the desert of Sinai. The second day Moses went up on the mountain. Like it says, Vayashkim Moshe Baboker. Ko Amar, that's what Moses said. God said to Moses, like this, speak to Beit Yaakov, the house of Jacob. Who is the house of Jacob? Says that's the women. For Tomer Lahem, and Tomer, the language of Tomar. Tomar, this is in an easy way. The word tagid means harsh. The word gid means like sinews. And Tomar is like in a calm, easy way. You should speak to them, Lashon Raka, in an easy way. Tell them the Torah. In other words, the good things of the Torah, not the punishments, etc. For Tagid lebnei Yaakov, bnei Yisrael, onishim, these are the punishments and the details you should tell over to the men. Kashin kagidim, things that are hard like sinews. In other words, to the women, tell all the good things of the Torah, all the benefits, all the nice commandments. But to the men, tell all the details and the punishments that are waiting if they don't do the details properly, etc. Moses went up to the God. It says Moses went up to Elohim. Moshe Allah el Elohim. Moses went up to God. Omer Yisrael. She Yisrael, the Jews, he said, the Jewish people, they're occupying themselves in camping and their needs. They have to eat, they have to sleep. But Moses, he went up to the Mount Sinai to prepare for prophecy. So God is speaking to Moses. Tell the Jews like this. Here, let's see. Again. He said, God says to Moses, this is what you should say to the women and to the men. What did they say? What should they say? You have seen what I have done to Egypt, and that I have lifted you up on the wings of eagles, and I have brought you to me. What are the wings of eagles? Let's see. Rashi, you have seen it. It's not somebody told this over to you. Lo b'devarim ani mishager lachem. I didn't send you a message, lo be'edim, or send you witnesses, elatem, but you yourselves, you personally saw what I did to Egypt. On the sins, how many sins the Egyptians did to me before I punished them, and before I started warning them, and I didn't pay them back but only because of you. In other words, the Egyptians could have kept sinning all the time, but because of you, Jewish people, I punished them, and I lifted you up on the wings of eagles. This is the day. Says Rashi, this is the day when I took you out. Other people say that it's talking about all the plagues. God smote the Egyptians, but he lifted the Jews up that they didn't suffer. But Rashi doesn't say like that. It says the day that I lifted you up on eagles, this is the day that you came to Ramset Sukkos. This one, the last point of exit from Egypt. The Jewish people were scattered around all of the Egypt. They were scattered around. And simply, all of a sudden, as soon as I said, okay, let's leave, all of the Jewish people gathered together to this place called Ramses. That was the exit point from Egypt. Onkelos translates that I took them. God says that I personally lifted them up, right, on wings of eagles, like an eagle that bears its young on its wings. The eagles really do that? I don't know, but he says that they do. He said, call all the other birds, when they lift up their young, they lift them with their claws, because they're afraid of other birds that are over them. But the eagle, he's only afraid of man. And maybe man, because there's no other birds. There are no birds that are higher than the eagle. So therefore, the eagle puts its young on its back to protect. So also me, says God. That's what I did. When did I take them on my back? It says, I made an angel travel behind you and in front of you to show you the way. And that there was a big angel and a cloud of glory, such that stood between you Jewish people and the Egyptians. The Egyptians were throwing all sorts of spears and catapults and things, and the cloud protected you from them. It brought you to me. Here, the Kli Ykar says, like I said, it says, he's really explaining what it says over here. The last thing, it says, this is the last thing we're going to read here. That you are going to be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you should speak to the Jewish people. The Kli Ykar explains it over here. You are going to be kings over priests, because by means of receiving the Torah, the people who learn the Torah have an advantage even on priests, because it says in the Jewish people that a mamzer, a bastard, and it's a mamzer is it's a legal Torah category of a child that's born from a relationship that's punishable by death. A married woman has relations with somebody. That child is a mamzer, and that child is really sort of like ostracized in Judaism. He can't marry a normal Jew, and if he does, then all of his children are mamzers. So he says, but nevertheless, a mamzer, if he knows how to learn the Torah, he is given preference over the high priest, if the high priest is an ignoramus. And that's what it says. You have seen what I've done to the Egyptians, namely all of the plagues, and the time when I gave the plagues to the Egyptians, blood, lice, etc., as I lifted you up on my wings, that you were not harmed at all. It's as though I lifted you from the ground. And then afterwards, when the plagues came from, that's the earthly plagues. When the plagues come from heaven, namely fire, hail, well, then lifting you up wouldn't help you, because then it's closer. Then I took you to me. I took you above all of nature. Some people say, what does it mean that I lifted you up? God is saying, I lifted you up even above the angels that have wings. And that's what it says. I have lifted you up above the wings of the angels. Okay. And now, says God, if you listen to my voice and you do my covenant, then you will be to me a segula, like a precious diamond, more than all the other nations, because the whole world belongs to me. Says Rashi, now, if you will accept on yourself the Torah, then I promise you that from now on, that that you will you'll be immune from all the troubles of the world. But now, kol atchalat kashot, all beginnings are difficult. True, up to now you've had problems. Because if you do the Torah, you won't have any more. Shamartem et briti, keep my covenant. She'echrut imachem al shemir Torah, that I'm going to make with you on the keeping of the Torah. You are a segula. Segula means like a treasure house. Utzer chaviv, like a hidden treasure, special, precious treasure, like schools of malachim, like the kings have their special treasure room. Kli Ykar v'amaniv tovot shamalachim gonzim otam. This is like precious vessels that the kings conceal it. Also, says God, that's what you're going to be to me from all the other nations. I love the other nations. I care about them, but not like you Jews. But don't say that only you are mine and ainli achirim imachem, and I don't care about the other nations. No. Ma'yishli od shetei chivatchem nikeret ki li kol oretz. The whole nation, all the world is mine. And the fact is, it's not this just that I don't like anybody. You're the only ones that I like. I like everybody, says God. I love all the nations, but you, Jews, oh, that's something special. Says God, but the fact of the matter is that you are not just special to me. In comparison to you, even though I like them, but in comparison to you, they're nothing. All the other nations in the world are like nothing in comparison to my love of the Jewish people. We can see like a father with his son. The son's in danger, he'll leave everybody else with him. Excuse me 1 minute. I prepared this, but I see I'm on the wrong thing. Here we go. Here. Yeah. Okay, also this is his hint that why does it say Shamoa Tishma'u? It says, Im Shamoa Tishma'u, if you hear, hear. Listen, listen. Why 2 times? He said because okay, Shamoa, that this is according to Kabbalah. It says that really the first 2 commandments the Jewish people heard from God, and the other 8 they heard from an angel that was created from God's word. That's what it says in Shemot Ishmu. You have to listen to both of them, not just the words that I spoke directly, also to the words. Another explanation is in Shemot Ishmu, that if you start to listen to the words of the Torah, that'll whet your appetite and you'll want to hear more. That's what it says. If you listen now, then I promise you that you're going to want to listen even more to even more words of Torah. And that's what it says. And you'll keep my covenant that the Torah will protect you from selfish impulses. כן, רגע.
אנחנו רוצים להתחיל לצלם. בסדר?
Okay, you will be to me a nation of priests and a holy people. These are the words that you should say to the Jewish people. This is God is saying this all over to Moses to tell over to the Jews. You will be important people, sarim, like ministers, like it says, like King David. He made all of his children into ministers and important people. These are the words you should say, not more and not less. And we're going to learn that this is going to be the, one second. Okay, tomorrow, God willing, we'll continue. Sorry for the delay. God willing, tomorrow at 3 o'clock we'll be on time.